Today I want to make a reflection and think about the difference between perseverance and stubbornness regarding to my last 6 years. From 2011 to 2014, roughly 3 years, I was involved in the biotech project with some exchange students friends. We used to live together in Portugal, and then this guy's cousin was a PhD pharmacist student here in the city, which is the city. The three major economic motors here are sugar energetic production, which comprises sugar, ethanol, and the excess electricity derived from the sugarcane biomass combustion. There is that, and there is also life sciences. We have one of University of São Paulo campi here, which in Brazil is one of the top ranked medical schools. Not only medical, but mainly and mostly medical. And rather than service, we are the third city economic. We are ranked as the third most economic preeminent city in the state. There is São Paulo, which is not only from the state but also Latam as well. And then there is Campinas, which practically is conurbating when the cities are getting the urban development is getting closer. And there is also then Ribeirão, which is 4 hour drive, 3 hour drive if you non-stop, 300 kilometers from São Paulo. And the third economic driver was like the beer industry. Can you guys believe it? The alcohol. I guess that we could have had Al Capone here. And as crazy as it seems, we have more beer consumption per capita here than Blumenau, which hosts the Brazilian Oktoberfest, as a parallel to the Munich one. And back to stubbornness, the raw and different, and it's a very tenuous line. Hard to know when you're perseverant and when you're stubborn. Very, very hard to know when you have one and when you have another. Really, really hard to tell. But I say this because you won't get good by being disciplined and perseverant. But when is it really time to stop? I mean, because not always things are going to be on the positive field. You're going to have drawdowns, right? Life's ups and downs are roller coaster, but you really have to be wise when to know. I don't know the name of that saint that says that prayer that kind of goes like this, that you pray for God to give you faith to endure things you can change, um, strength to endure things that you can, and wisdom to know how to differentiate when you can change and when you can't. And so that's basically the reflection today, because I was trying to, when I moved back from Sao Paulo, I really wanted to be a jiu-jitsu teacher, because that's the way I see how you impact the other people's lives. You know, after a certain point of money, if you have some climate place to stay, either in the cold or in the heat, decent quality food, which doesn't really have to be fancy restaurants. That's mainly for ego purposes, transvestite as unique and rather experiences. Because if you go back to the history of the Michelin three rated stars restaurants, they were just basically made to sell Michelin tires. It's another invention, byproduct of the system. That, and if you ever always gonna to be trying to chase that, just thinking that then you're gonna see the in the end of the rainbow the pot of gold, you always will end up, the tail will always end up tailing the dog, winding the dog. But I think I was stubborn, because when I first planted soybeans on a rented farm from one of these sugar canes, not wanting to go to the family business, because back then I said to my father that due to the I knew I used to train jiu-jitsu with the criminal lawyer from Marcelo de Breche, which was on the car wash operation, one of the biggest scandals so far on corruption here in Brazil. I think even that guy from BBC, John, I don't remember the rest of his name, very funny guy, like, they reported. And Brazilian people are so, they are so cheap as they can be pastured around their money and politics, and it's so fierce when it comes to their soccer players, it's soccer games. Nevertheless, I was stubborn, because then the guy said the I will try to find, how can I say, redhibitory vice, which is one of the constraints that you can annulate your contract in the Brazilian Civil Code. And that basically makes us, because they promise you three things. For example, this you buy a house that's white inside and blue outside, for example. But then you get there, the house is not from those colors, so you're being not fooled. In essence, it's kind of that. And in Brazil, they have instituted the good Brazilian jeitinho way, and now I'm being sued for for my tenant for the same reason, but it's okay. It's Brazilian nasty culture. And then I was stubborn, trying to, because when this contract of soybeans ended, I was going to plant the sugarcane to just to be their exclusive supplier. But then when 3 months passed, and 3 months in agriculture is a life, because you miss the rain, you miss the weather, because you have the fossil period and the temperature, everything. If 3 months in agriculture is everything. You lost the whole year, right? It's called agronomical year. And after that, you basically miss the point. And then instead of going to this other property that now has to be selling, because then pandemics hit, soybeans exploded due to many many things combined. The Asian flu that they had to slaughter pigs in China, the COVID per se problem, and then the Ukrainian Russian war, because they diminished the supply from grains, because Ukraine has a lot of positive and agriculture uh, uh, output. Their soils are very very naturally fertile. In a general rule, the more dark the soil, the better it is. It's a general rule. It has more clay, generally speaking, not always. We have the white clay, which is an exception, but generally they have more clay, more organic matter, more iron, because the basal components of the soil are more inclined to be iron, which gives the darker color. Okay, but then I became stubborn. After we did not irrigate that area that was going to be uh, given back by the by this company, the biggest one on the car wash operation, I told my father, and my father, as because I didn't had success with this previous venture in the biotech field with these guys in Portugal, which was in Brazil, but we came to receive an offer for buying. We didn't have anything. We are uh, not even early seed money, because we are just a paper company project, and then we received money back then. And the guy said, "No, it's not enough." Totally delusional. I didn't have any real business experience back then to see how to look at people, how they react with money, how everything. And then I was not perceived as a good person as my father, because I was, after this project didn't work, I come back to go to a lawyer, which I soon 2 years afterwards I was fired, because the I began older. I didn't really want to do that. I was just in as doing more a paralegal job, just writing contracts, which today AI basically substituted us. And I really don't like to be a lawyer. I think when people want, it's so easy to resolve things, even at a financial cost, because life's here, then life is so fast, and they don't do this trade-off account. They literally do, as I think Confucius says, when they seek for revenge, and then they have to dig two graves, one for them and for the enemy, but people don't take that to account, literally. Uh, it's cheaper sometimes to pay to say the person, "You're right," and you never repeat that again, which comes to this conclusion: why not be stubborn again? Right? Why not be stubborn again? So now I decided to learn something new again, from trying to run from AI, because it will take me some time to go back to irrigated coffee producer if I really wanted to do that. to have a team, the proper capital to go through the project, which are literally 30 months into the first full harvest, and 30 months in agriculture is it's a lot of time. It's not too much for the plant, but for you to endure it, to come there, and things go in vision online, it takes a lot of time. Not only determination, yeah, which comes to the same point, determination, stubbornness, or what? Perseverance slash determination slash stubbornness. So mainly I'm just putting out these things from my head. Maybe some of you guys have been through the same, can give me some idea, has been walking those shoes, you know. Because if I go to a therapist who never really done anything in the real world, how could ever she or he could give me some piece of advice, you know? That is why I think now mentorships have been exploded, because when someone is real, not fake, and has been through that, then she might get a sense of, no, that's the path, that's not, you know. I have this adage that of myself that I like to say that you cannot ask for someone who never climbed a wall how to go to Everest, right? Because there is also that statistics that I think only 1 in 4 people who try to climb the Everest goes back. But I think that I will end up for here for now. This is one of the things that I want to put it off my mind now. It's when to be wise, when not to be stubborn, when to be perseverant, when you're not mixing those fields, thinking that you are perseverant or determined, but in the reality you are just being stubborn. I think that is the point. Because if you're really Catholic, for instance, and you follow through the sacrament of marriage, for instance, you have to be then perseverance at no as a no back down plan. You cannot just simply give up, because then you would, even if you're cheated and whatever, then you would be broken a sacred god God's law, right? But in other things like business and dealing with toxic people, and so then this applies, right? When it's wise to know if you're not stubborn. In a marriage, you have to be stubborn, but other than that, in other aspects of life, how can you be wise not to be stubborn and know when your determination, your perseverance will produce a good outcome? Even when you go with the J curve, the death valley for the companies, even when you're in the drown down. I think that's one thing that I want to think more, elaborate more, get good at, because I think from that we can try to have better outcomes and better life in general. You know, that's it for now. Let me tell you what you guys think. I hope you am being not to be too much thirsty.